I don't even recognize myself. I really don't. This is trippy. I have to start over. Hello. Welcome. I promise this is the Truelane YouTube channel. I've just been through a dramatic hair transformation and I'm having trouble recognizing myself in the viewfinder. This will only take a second to explain, but knitting has really impacted my life in so many ways. I have been getting blonde highlights for years now. I didn't color my hair until I was in like my mid-20s, and I was really blonde when I was a kid. Should I launch into this right now? I think I should. We'll get to knitting in a second. This is a new episode of the knitting podcast, and it's going to be happening momentarily. I was really blonde as a kid. I started getting a lot darker roots in my early 20s, which is pretty common. And so I started getting blonde highlights to feel a little bit more like myself. After a while, let's just say blonde is really hard to upkeep. It's very expensive, at least the style of highlights that I was getting. And the other thing is my hairstylist lives in Minnesota. It's really hard to get out there frequently enough to keep my blonde looking the way that I want it to. So most of the time I was feeling like very beige and drab. And so if any of you watch Nitty Natty, which I'm sure a lot of you do, she has been on a hair transformation going from getting a lot of blonde highlights to going back to her natural color, which is a lot darker. I was very inspired by her transformation because I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. We both have bluish eyes. Mine are kind of hazel. They're showing more blue right now. But she has, I think, we have different skin colors. Like her complexion is a little bit darker than mine. But she went on this journey and I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. So I found a new hairstylist through my boss actually at the yarn shop and decided to give her a try because she did a really complicated color situation on my boss's daughter, doing a little like all natural color and then like a peekaboo color underneath the top layer of hair. So like if it's all hanging down normal, it's looks like you have blonde hair, but then underneath it's like bright blue. So I was like, if she can do that really intensive technique, she can probably do a good job doing regular color. So I went yesterday and I just went in there and I was like, you know what? I showed her the underlayer of my hair, which is now, I was like, this is the color that I want, because the underlayer of my hair had never been colored before. It's my darkest color roots because it doesn't get sun exposure. And I was like, this is kind of what I'm going for. So we talked about a bunch of different options, and in the end I was just like, you know what? Do the high contrast not high contrast, do the whatever was gonna make the biggest change. I was like, let's just do it. Like, why not? So I picked my shade color, and I will say it turned out darker than I was anticipating. The shade I picked was still called dark blonde. It's like one shade before light brown, but just having it all over, I'm amazed by how dark it is and how I look like a different person. I feel like I'm wearing a wig. That being said, I love it. I think it's beautiful. The salon, the fresh out of the salon feeling, it's all glossy and soft. Like, I am kind of in awe, but I also don't recognize myself. It will fade a little bit over time because it's a gloss, but I feel like I have a whole new woman to meet. Like, I genuinely don't recognize myself in the mirror right now. I feel like Vanessa from The Little Mermaid. I feel like my older sister who has dark brown hair. When we were FaceTiming yesterday, she was like, I feel like I'm talking to myself. And yeah, but on top of that, I got a new cut. I got some little fringy bangs. You can kind of see. I can pull them to the front if I so desire, but just for the sake of like management right now, I'm kind of keeping them off to the side. But so it's a whole new thing, and I'm like really, uh-oh, are we gonna have bang problems already? I think it looks okay. It's just like hanging out there. I don't know. Anyway, we have a lot to talk about today, and I've already spent 5 minutes going over my new hair, but I'm sure a lot of you are going to feel the same as I, which is complete and total shock at how different I look. And it's just something we're gonna have to get used to together. So it's me, Chelsea, truelane, here I am, just brunette edition. We're in our brunette era. And I don't know who this girl is. She also painted her nails yesterday, which I haven't done in a while. Bright red. Who is she? I don't know. She's still a knitter. So I do have 2 finished objects to talk about, and then multiple whips. I think 7. Chaotic cast-on energy is real. And then I also have a ton of acquisitions today because I got to do a really fun yarn swap with Marlene Knits here on YouTube. And I also have done a little bit of shopping lately, more than I expected to do lately, but do I need to get a brush? There we go. Moving along. So this is my first finished object. This is my port sweater, which I have been working on, and I think it's so funny that what sold me eventually on this green color was I decided it would look great with the tone of my hair, and then I got a dramatically different hair color, but I still think it looks good. So this is the port sweater, which is a design by Ozetta, and I knit mine in Berroco Ultra Alpaca in the color Hops, which is a really nice golden green, and then I paired it with a Madelinetosh mohair in the color Oak, and it made this really amazing swampy, mossy, golden green color that you can see my hair is not as dark as the camera's making it look. Like when I'm back here, the lighting adjusts and kind of like, I feel like I'm kind of dark, but when my sleeve is up, you can tell it's a lot lighter. And if I bring my hair closer, it's not that dark. Enough about the hair. Anyway, so this was a sweater that I was really on the fence about, and I asked for a lot of help in the comments when I was swatching, aka started the sweater, and was really unsure about the color. I am glad that I committed to it. I think it's a great piece. I've gotten a lot of compliments about it when I've worn it at work already, which is really reaffirming, I guess, in my choices. It's an interesting fit. I added some length to the body, and it's even shorter than I expected it to be. I don't know if you can tell, but it's a very boxy fit, and the sleeves are quite long. There's my hand. And I feel like I want the collar to either go up higher or be more like a folded neckband. So I think this is called a mock neck, is that correct? But it's a really interesting sweater. I really feel like it's definitely a statement piece, for sure. The drop shoulder is very significant. My shoulder is up here, kind of closer to the neckline than the shoulder, which that's the intent, obviously. And the sleeves are very oversized and dramatic. I don't know that I would make this again, just because I have encountered so many other sweaters already that I know I love the fit of and I already want to make again. This isn't really one of them, and also alpaca kind of bothers my skin. I'm learning that now, that I need to be a little more stringent on the fibers that I choose, because Ultra Alpaca is really soft when I touch it in the skein, but when it's on my chest, it just makes me feel some type of way. And I've said this before about my other alpaca sweater, the first sweater that I made, and I think it just maybe needs to be a fiber that I avoid. I don't know, but I do have to wear like a long sleeve shirt or like a crew neck t-shirt under this to be comfortable. So there's that. The other thing is, this was a real game of yarn chicken here. And I had planned to avoid it by not binding off the first sleeve immediately. My plan was to knit the first sleeve all the way to where I wanted it to be, leave the stitches live, and then knit the second sleeve so that if I couldn't get the length on the second sleeve, I'd be able to rip back a few rows on the first one, kind of make sure they match. I got a little too eager after my first sleeve, was so excited to finish it that I just kept working and bound it off. Went all the way through a tubular bind off before I remembered, like tying the knot at the end. I was like, oh, I wasn't gonna do that. But so once I got to the end of the second sleeve, it was absolute yarn chicken. I ran out of the mohair 3 rounds before the end of the sleeve, before the bind off. And I had a 3rd skein of mohair. I'll be honest, I did. But 3 rounds away, I didn't want to break into a whole new skein of yarn. I'm really sorry, but I'm trying to look away from the camera because this brunette girl keeps freaking me out. So I didn't want to break into the 3rd skein. And so I literally knotted together the scraps from my woven in ends that I'd trimmed. Just knotted them together and did 2 more rows and a bind off. So technically the ribbing is 1 row shorter on the second sleeve than the first. And there are a bunch of knots woven in too. And I actually can't tell which sleeve is which, so that's, you know, a good thing that it worked out. So somehow I sort of won yarn chicken, but yeah, it really, if you remember my sweater number 14 V-neck, I ran out of mohair I think 12 rounds before the bind off of the sleeve. So that was a little bit more significant. I did have to use like, you know, 2 or 3 more grams. But this one was like 2 rounds. Like it would have been like this much mohair out of a brand new skein. And so I made it work. And I'm really glad that I did. But so this is my finished object. I am really glad to have it done. I definitely don't see it getting a lot of wear in the spring and upcoming months, but I think once fall hits again, I'll be ready to get this swampy turtle green sweater back out. And yeah, overall, I'm very happy that I did it. And I mean, the thing I fell in love with immediately when I saw the pattern was this like ribbed sleeve situation, which was kind of hard to keep tension on. I think I talked about that a little bit in my last episode. So one of the sides is much nicer than the other, but in this moment I can't tell, so maybe I did better than I thought I did. Anyway, port sweater, all done. My second finished object is my cider house socks, which turned out so dreamy. I have to keep pausing and just look at myself in the mirror, or the viewfinder, because I'm really struggling. Anyway, most of you are probably knitting while watching this, so you don't have to stare at my face too often, but while I'm showing, you know, I have to like check and make sure everything's focused, and she's just there. So this is a Summerly Knits pattern, the Cider House socks, and I used a sock set from Woolberry Fiber Co. that I purchased from La Mercerie. And the main color is called Sandcastle, which they actually have in stock right now. I don't know, as of me posting the video, I don't know if Sandcastle's in stock, but it is. You can check if you would like it. And then the contrast color is yellow, an unnamed yellow. And then for the white, I used Manos del Uruguay Alegria, which is a sock yarn that we carry at the store I work at. It's a 75% superwash merino, 25% polyamide blend, and I really liked it in the cuff, so I'm gonna definitely be using that again. And the colorway is called Crema for the cream color. So this is my very first cable project. I had a blast knitting it up. I can't believe I finished 2. Grab the one that I dropped, because it really was, I mean, not an unlaborious project. It wasn't laborious, but it wasn't not laborious. The repeat was super easy to memorize. It's 7 rounds, and I had it down by the second cable row. I was like, I know exactly what I'm doing. And from what I can tell, all of my cables are going the correct direction, so that's good. One small issue is a little bit the sizing. My ideal sock size is a 64 stitch circumference on a 2.25 needle. That's how I prefer to make all of my socks. Summerly Knits pattern has a 60 stitch and a 69 stitch count, and I was like, one is going to be too small and one is going to be too big. So what I did was size up to a 2.5 needle and do the 60 stitch circumference. I think this was a poor choice because it's almost too small. I can almost not get it over my foot at this part where like your ankle and the widest part of your foot are. I think I should have just stuck with the size medium 69 stitches, especially because they're cables, so I think that just the tension is a little bit different than just doing a stockinette leg or just a ribbed leg. And so I think I would have been totally fine with the 69 stitch circumference. But oh well, I can get it on my foot, and that's what matters. Another issue I had, I think due to the stitch count, you can see my sleeve, what's it called? Heel flap pickup here. Really nice on this side. This side, not so nice. Really bumpy, not a full stitch. So I'm not sure why the pickup didn't work out there, if it was just the wrong part of the stitch that I went into, or if my tension was just poor. But it happened on both socks, so I don't know if it had to do with the odd number stitch count or what, but this is a pattern that I would make again. I don't know when, because I really missed my vanilla socks when I was in the middle of these. It's just, I mean, it's so funny because it is such an endeavor, but at the end of the day, it's just a sock, which is a very small knitting project. But I can see all kinds of sock set combinations worked up in this. The Kinetic Knitter has a sock set coming out today, soon. Oh shoot, I probably missed it. It's 124. Has a sock set coming out called Poppy and Sage, and I think they would look delicious in this pair of socks. So let me see if I can buy that really quick, or if it's completely sold out. Okay, I can't focus on this right now. Back to my socks. So that was my little bit issue with the sizing and yarn, but I think that's all there is to say about these. They took me about 2 to 3 weeks, I think, and I just love this color combination so much. And now that I've gotten to show them in the podcast in their perfect post-blocking state, I can't wait to actually wear them because I think they turned out to be such a great spring color combo. So 2 finished objects this episode, which I feel good about. I was doing really great with my knitting motivation the last, in the middle of March, I would say. The last week or so, I had really intense goals to meet, which I think just intimidated me too much that I didn't even attempt them, because I had a really exciting whip to start, and that was something I wanted to clear my needles a little bit more before I started this particular whip, but I didn't, and I feel totally fine about it. But I have had extremely chaotic cast-on energy, and I've been absolutely giving into it. So several whips are coming up. Let's dive in. The first one is going to be my mini Anchors cardigan that looks pretty close to done. This is a sweater I'm knitting for my 2-year-old niece, and she's going to be adorable in it. Purple is her favorite color, and it is all done except for the button band. I have this much yarn left. I think it will be enough. Who can say? I think the button band is only like 3 rows of ribbing, so I should be able to get it done, but I need to talk to her about how many buttons she wants. The pattern calls for 6, and I think my niece specifically requested 5. So I just need to confirm that and see if I need to modify the pattern just slightly. And then I'm gonna pick out 2 to 3 button options for my niece to choose from, because I want her to really, I'm trying to make sure she really understands that Auntie Chelsea handmade this for her and that it's completely customized to be her cardigan. So I want her to be able to pick out the buttons, and I'm just really looking forward to her trying this on. She's going to be here with my sister and her husband, and the kids are all coming out next week, so end of April, and I'm hoping to have this. I mean, I'll definitely get the button bands done by then, so I'll just sew the buttons that she chooses while they're here, and then there will be this adorable little cardigan for her. So this is a petite knit pattern, if you're not familiar for some odd reason. It's the Junior Anchors cardigan, and I actually knit it on a worsted weight yarn. I used Berroco Ultra Wool in the color Lilac and sized up a needle after the ribbing. I basically found a Raveler, a person on Ravelry who knit this cardigan using Berroco Ultra Wool, and I just kind of followed what they did. So they did a size 6 needle on the ribbing and then went up to a 7 for the body, and that's exactly what I did. And I pretty much am on gauge, so I don't know how that worked out, but I went up a yarn size and up a needle size, and there we are. So this is something I really worked on a lot in the middle of March, and so I'm really glad to have it this close to done. I definitely have kind of a brain hang up about picking up the stitches for the button band, but I can do it. And it's such a small measurement, so I really have to work on this one soon, because I want to be confident about where I am with it before they arrive. So that is the Junior Anchors cardigan. And then I think the next whip I'm going to show is another one I mentioned in my last podcast, which is my Louvre sweater, which is another petite knit pattern. And I've just started adding in my second skein of yarn, so it's a little messier than I would like it to be, but that's okay. Let me just untangle this quickly. Okay, so this is the Louvre sweater, or at least part of the yoke of it. And I'm knitting the first size because I think it's a little oversized. And I'm using Sorella Yarns Autumn in New York collection Classic DK in the color newsprint. And I'm in love with it. This is absolutely the smoothest yarn I've ever knit with. It is so silky soft in my hand, so deliciously squishy, and the speckling is to die for. It's so great, so even, so wonderful, and I just cannot wait to wear this. I think the colorway is so striking. It looks just like little ink blots, little New York Times typeface, and I'm just having a blast knitting up this yoke. I am human. I've absolutely made a few mistakes here and there. I can't be blamed for missing an increase here or throwing in an extra increase there. It just happens, and I don't find stitch counts to be very hard and fast for me. It's okay to me if I'm not exactly where I need to be, but once in a while I'll just kind of count and see if things are even. So on my last couple rounds, one sleeve had 56 stitches, one sleeve had 58, and so I just kind of make adjustments as I go and try to get somewhat close. Even if it's not matching the pattern, I at least want it to like kind of match each other. So there's that, but it's just going along swimmingly. I'm really enjoying knitting it up, and I think I'm think I'm over halfway through the yoke. I think there's maybe 21 repeats and I've done 11, so maybe I'm about halfway through the yoke. But I really like this nice long neck tubular cast on. Check her out. Delicious. That's the second time I've said delicious about this sweater, but it just goes to show how I feel about this yarn. It is so, I wish you could just feel it through the screen. It's so nice. And this just feels so special to be using this yarn. I knew I wanted to do something with it soon. A lot of my Autumn in New York collection yarn has a very autumnal vibe. This one doesn't have such an autumnal vibe for me, so I knew it would work for like a springier knit. And so I kind of impulsively cast it on last month, but I'm very glad that I did. So this will be kind of on the back burner throughout spring knitting, but I've been working on it a couple hours here, an hour there, and so it's still getting some decent progress. So this is the Louvre sweater. Probably, I think the last, well, not the last sweater I'll be making before fall, because I have an idea for another one that maybe I should mention in this podcast. We'll see. Anyway, that's that. Petite knit pattern being held in my petite knit project bag. Always very satisfying. So that is whip number 2. Next, I'll share another Sorella yarn project, which is my, what month are we in? April socks. And I'm so excited to be using another super special colorway. This cake is still looking good, so this is the one I'll show. This is the Shop Around the Corner colorway from Knitflix, I think was the name of the collection. And it's a colorway inspired by one of my all-time favorite movies, You've Got Mail. Do my bangs look okay? I hope they look okay and not too like, they're not really bothering me. I just want to make sure they look like okay. I think they look okay. If they don't and you're laughing at me, it's okay. I understand. That this is still like my salon day after hair, so I haven't actually styled it myself. Just give me a minute. Let me settle into it. Anyway, here's where I am on sock number 1. I've never really used a variegated color like this that kind of stripes. At least I don't think so. But it's just a really, really fun color to knit up. And I don't know how Sorella yarn did this, but it really does just have like this 90s haze to it, the color. That looks like the movie. It's very special. I can't quite explain it or get over it, but I just, when I was going through my sock sets looking at what I wanted to knit up for April, I just couldn't stop thinking about this yarn. It's so funny because You've Got Mail is a good fall movie. It's a great Christmas movie. It's a great summer movie, and it's perfect for spring. It goes through all of the seasons in one movie, and there's just never a bad time to watch You've Got Mail. So I'll definitely have to give it a watch while I'm knitting up these socks. And I'm just doing the Crazy Sock Ladies vanilla socks on 9-inch circular patterns, what I do for all my vanilla socks, with the one modification of doing a 2x2 ribbed cuff rather than a 1x1, just because I think it looks a little neater and tidier, and I like how I got cut off. Okay. What I was saying was that I have my second needle ready to cast on the second sock because I like doing my socks 2 at a time on separate needles because they kind of, it gives you the impression that you're knitting faster than you are because they both end up done at the same time. But, so this is something I'm only working on the go. If I'm, you know, out and about or some passenger on a drive or waiting at a doctor's office or something, that's when this is being worked on. So not too much, but just, I gotta get my April socks in. All right, the next thing I'm working on is my first spring knit, I guess. I don't know. We're in the season of spring, so everything is a spring knit. But I've actually gotten started on a Penrose Knits pattern, which I'm very excited to knit up. I've been eyeing her patterns for a long time and haven't, for some reason, committed to one. But I did cast on the Summer Souffle, and I'm almost to the part where you add in the ruffle. So this yoke is like 40% done. That's just a random estimation. But I'm actually using a really amazing brand new color. I'm timing the release of this podcast to be the day that this color comes out, of Dapple, which is a cotton merino blend. I believe it's 60% merino and 40% cotton from Brooklyn Tweed. And the colorway is called Barely There. It's like this perfect seashell pink that, it's really dark now, lighten up. You can see the color better when I hold it farther away from the camera rather than closer, but it's truly just a Barely There seashell pink, and I have thoughts about how it's working up. Dapple is a yarn that we carry at the yarn store that I work at, and I've never enjoyed touching it. It's soft. It's really soft. There's just something about the hand feel that I don't enjoy. It's just like it's a mind thing. Like, you know those people who are like afraid of holes, tiny holes? That's like kind of how the hand feel is for me. It's just like, something about it. But it's a DK weight cotton blend, and I thought it would be perfect in the Summer Souffle, and I couldn't get over this color. So I was like, let me just work with the dang Dapple and see if I hate it as much in a garment as I think I will. But it's not been bad to work up. There's lots of, I don't know if you can tell, kind of cotton floofies in here, like, that I've been picking out. There's too many to pick out. There are too many to pick out, but I've been doing my best. Anyway, this also, I don't remember what kind of cast on she said to use in the pattern, but I did a tubular cast on, and I would like to tell you that I did it without looking it up first. I did a tubular cast on 100% from memory. I was pretty impressed with myself. I'll try to link the tutorial that I use in the description, because it's the best one I found so far, the simplest one I found so far. All you do is you crochet half the number of cast-on stitches you need onto a large straight needle. Then, using your circular needle that you're using for your project, you knit and yarn over all of those stitches, alternating knit and yarn over. Then you join in the round and you do 4 rows of slip knit or purl slip, and you're done. It's so simple. Like, it just took me 40 seconds to explain an entire tubular cast on to you. But I was just so proud of myself that I did this from memory, I did it correctly, and it looks great. So I'm really excited to have this finished object. I'm playing with the idea of modifying the ruffle just a little bit. Either making it a couple of rows longer so the curl isn't so tight, or that's my only idea. So we'll see when I get to the ruffle how I feel about that. But it's also, I don't know, I'm not sure I love the kind of increases that this yoke does, but it kind of leaves holes somewhere. I don't care enough that I would modify it with a different kind of increase, but so we're just going with it. I am really excited about this, and I'm excited about having a sample. Well, it won't be a sample for the store, but I'm excited about having this done really quickly after this colorway launches. I think it will be cool. So for this one, I think I'm making the second size. That corresponds pretty well to my measurements, and I'm also excited because it's a DK weight t-shirt, so no sleeves to worry about. I mean, very short sleeves to worry about. And the only real challenge I think is going to be the ruffle, because you end up with oh so many stitches on a cable. I've done a ruffle before for socks, and it does get a little tight. So that is one that I've been working on only at the yarn shop, but funnily enough, not in front of anyone, because the color doesn't come out until April 12th, which is when you're watching this, because I wanted to be, I didn't want to talk about it without the color actually being available. So on knit night at the yarn shop, I couldn't work on this in front of our customers, so I actually did, and let me take a sip of coffee because I'm starting to like have trouble. Excuse me. I spontaneously cast on something in this absolutely beautiful colorway. It's from Madelinetosh. It is a hand-dyed yarn on their brand new sport weight base called Wool Cycle Sport, which is 100% upcycled superwash merino wool. This colorway, once we lighten up here, is called is called Kauai, which is a Hawaiian island, coincidentally. And I've started Friday Knits Lost Tank, which is a pattern I've been super excited about ever since Phoebe launched it. And this is all I have. I have to do 7 inches of this, which will take me a minute, but this is slightly modified in that the pattern is a fingering weight pattern. I'm using a sport weight yarn. The recommended needle size is 3.25 millimeter, and to me, I just wanted it to be a little fuller. We carry the Tosh Merino Light base at my store, which is a fingering weight superwash merino from Madelinetosh, and it's extremely thin. I would call it like a light fingering, even though there is a little bit of fluff, so it maybe fluffs up a little. I just wanted to use something a little bit more substantial for a ribbed camisole like this, because I think I would have either, this is how I want the fabric to turn out, basically, is what I'm saying. I would have either, if I was using a fingering weight yarn, gone down to like a 2.5 or 2.75 millimeter needle. But I was like, I really wanted to use this brand new base because it's new in our shop and we had this colorway. And when I saw this colorway, it reminded me of Friday Knits. Like, this is a Phoebe color through and through. I think there's a colorway from Ching Fiber that is kind of similar that she used for something. So I saw this yarn, I thought of Friday Knits, and I was like, I have to cast on the same time. So this is what I worked on during knit night. Bought the needles at the store the other day, like wound the yarn, everything. I just bought it and started it all in one night. So that is going to be the Lost Tank by Friday Knits. If you've been around a little bit, you'll know that I have another camisole in progress by Friday Knits, which is this one. I'll get back to it, I promise. This doesn't really count as a whip because I haven't worked on it at all, but it's the Sweetheart Ribbed Top, which I already have one of, and I was just making a second colorway. And I plan to work on it in the summer, but we're taking a break from green yarn. Famous last words when you see what's coming up. But this is the Lost Tank. I'm making the second size of this one, which I think corresponds with my measurements, and then I am using a sport weight yarn instead of a fingering weight yarn. I'm not making any size modifications or anything, but so I think it'll turn out just fine. And I'm really excited about this really fun springy colorway. I feel like it might go better with blonde hair than this color that I have now, but that's okay. I'll wear it anyway. The only thing on my mind is my hair right now, because every time I look up in the camera, I'm like, who is this? And what do I do with this guy who's... Thank you for bearing with me. This is just a whole new experience today. My next whip, I'm really excited about. I'm doing a mini knit along, a micro knit along, we're calling it, with Hannah from Pages and Pearls here on YouTube. Am I focused? Yes. And her Instagram account is The Breakfast Books right now. I don't know if she's planning on changing that or not, but her name is Hannah, and she is my friend. We are doing a micro knit along because it's only the two of us participating, but we're making the Cumulus blouse, which is a petite knit pattern. And this is a pattern I've been looking at for a year since I started knitting. I've been wanting to knit one up and just couldn't decide on a yarn to use. I've seen so many beautiful samples. There's so many different suri options, which is my preferred floofy yarn compared to mohair. And I snagged this one-of-a-kind colorway from Olivia and Oliver Fibers in a shop update last year at some point. It's unnamed, but it's this beautiful green color, which I just said I'm taking a green break, but I'm not. And Hannah told me that it reminded her of like basil leaves, which I think is a wonderful assessment and feels very springy and summery and gardeny. So we've both cast on. We cast on the same day and both messed up and then restarted, I think, the next day. But here's how it's coming along. I have about 3 more repeats before I join in the round. And I've never held suri double before, and it is thick. There is no part of this fabric that is see-through at all, in the least. And it's been a little bit challenging to knit up, but I am much happier since I switched from my Luca needles to my metal Knit Picks needles. And B, wasn't there a B? Oh, I wound my 2 suri cakes into one. So this is 2 skeins of suri in one ball that I wound together, and that's been really helping me as well. Just keeping the yarn together as I go along. So Hannah also gave me a really smart trick for counting increases, because it's the increases are a 4-row repeat, and every V-neck increased row we're adding a stitch marker to kind of track progress. So that's been really helpful, since sometimes I keep a row counter like on my phone, like, or not a row counter, but a repeat counter. I have a little checklist in my notes app, so every time I finish a repeat I check it off. But sometimes I honestly forget to hit the button, and so it's really helpful to actually have a visual representation on the project. So thank you, Hannah, for that little tip. So this is going to be adorable. I think it also might have been a little cuter with blonde hair, but that's okay. This is really jarring me every time I look in the camera. It's going to take a lot for me to get used to this. I feel like I'm wearing a wig. Did I say that in the beginning? And this lighting almost gives it like a maroon tinge. Is that just me saying that? Because it doesn't have that in real life. There is a little bit of an auburn tinge, but not maroon. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Who is this girl? Anyway, I am making the first size of this pattern because I've heard it's quite oversized, so I don't really have any qualms about the sizing. I think I'm pretty close to gauge. I haven't measured in a while, but now would probably be a good time since I have at least a 4-inch swatch. So this has been really fun, and I'm really excited for Hannah and I to have our finished Cumulus blouses together. Our colors actually look really good together, so you'll have to go and check out her videos to see what color she is knitting up. I don't know if she's posted it on Instagram or not, but again, she's The Breakfast Books on Instagram, and she'll be linked below and everything. All right, I think I have another whip. Do I not? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, that's all. Okay, so that was really fun. I am not typically someone who has that many projects on the needles. Am I? Don't go back and check. I don't need receipts. But usually I'm more of like a 2 to 3 whips person. So having 7 on the needles is a little bit intimidating, but I feel really excited about everything, and it's so fun to see all the yarn and like just everything work all together here. So now I have to move on to acquisitions. I will be moving on to acquisitions, and I'll just start with the yarn swap that I did with Marlene Knits, who is a YouTuber here on the knitting YouTube world, in the knitting podcast realm. She is also on Instagram. Marlene.knits is her username. I feel like it's really distracting that I can't look into the camera because we're not going to talk about it right now. So last year, Marlene reached out to me about doing a yarn swap. She's based in Europe, she lives in Germany, and I'm of course based here in the Pacific Northwest, the United States. And so we have different access to different yarns readily available to us. And so she thought it would be fun to pick out some colors for each other, especially because we have a lot of similar taste in yarn. Neutral, speckles, muted tones, all of these things we both love. And so we set a budget and kind of a date, or just a timeline for when we were going to send them out to each other. And so we did that last month. Her box to me took a lot longer than mine to her. She sent hers out a week and a half before I sent hers, and I had to wait probably another week for it to arrive, and mine I think took 1 week to get to Germany. So she was very patient waiting to open up our exchange boxes, but we got to do it over FaceTime, which was really fun to see each other's reactions to everything, and I was dying. She was so funny. But everything that she received from me is on her latest podcast episode. So if you want to see the things I picked out for her, definitely go and check out her video, and I will now show you everything that she picked out for me. So it was really fun. We both kind of sent each other a sock set. The sock yarn that she sent me is this one, Sislerget, I want to say is what it's called, and it's a Christmas 2022 colorway, which Marlene also has herself. So we'll be able to have matching socks, which will be really fun. It's a 80-20 blend, superwash merino with 425 meters, and she sent it along with this Lang jaw wool superwash, 75% virgin wool, 25% polyamide, kind of contrast color to use together if I so desire. But it's just such a nice, pretty, it's very Pacific Northwest colors actually, the kind of greens and browns in here with all the pretty speckles. So that was really fun. And another yarn that she sent me, I think she knows I'm such a huge Copy Dolls fangirl. Like, I love, love, love more Copy Callie and Kahila and Mr. Bobbin, and I'm pretty sure that this yarn Alexandra's Garn gave to, I think, Copy Callie in Sweden for her birthday. It's a Regia tweed yarn in the color 02, and it's this really pretty off-white tweedy sock yarn that I think is also a 75-25 blend. Oh, well, 70% wool, 25% polyamide, and then 5% viscose, which I assume are the little tweedy bits. And so I really am excited to have matching socks with Kalila. So this was a really fun one. I don't remember if Marlene knew that Kalila had this yarn when she sent it to me, but she does know how obsessed I am with Copy Dolls, and that, you know, this colorway is right up my alley. So it was such a thoughtful gift, and I'm so excited to knit this up. They're gonna be such cozy socks. I'm so excited. And then another extra special yarn that she sent me was from Olivia and Oliver Fibers, which I have talked about since episode 2, episode 3 of my podcast, and so many of you, including Marlene, have discovered Tam from Olivia and Oliver Fibers from watching my podcast, and that just makes me so happy that she is blowing up getting the recognition she deserves because she is such a talented dyer, as you can see from this dreamy skein of yarn in the colorway Feather from her newest Warm Neutrals collection. It's really similar to the yarn that I used for my sweater number 9. Is that the sweater number? That the colorway that I used for that sweater is called Eggnog, and it's kind of a similar neutral speckly yarn but with more yellow. This one's a little bit more cooler toned, and so I was really touched that Marlene included this because I wasn't financially able to shop the Warm Neutrals pre-order that Tam released, and so I'm really happy to have a skein of yarn from it thanks to Marlene. So this is the merino fingering base, 100% superwash merino, and so we kind of exchanged project ideas in our packages, like things we envisioned the yarn would be good for in a project, and this one she kind of had in mind for it to be a camisole, and I think that's an excellent assessment. And so I'm pretty sure I'll probably just do like my favorite things knitwear camisole number 4, 2, I don't remember which ones are which, but I do really like the broken rib one, and I've never done a broken rib stitch before. I think that one's number 4, so I'm thinking about doing that with this beauty. But it just looks so divine in skein form. I'm like, let me just look at this forever. So that was really exciting. Another little, it's not a sock set, but it's 2, so sock duo. It's Sandnes Garn Perfect, which is the superwash DK weight yarn. And she got me 2, 80% wool, 20% nylon in the color 2650, which is a really nice grayish, kind of beigey gray color, with the intention of making a pair of Sunday socks, which I would love in this color. I think they would look really dreamy. I want to find a way to hold these close to the camera without darkening the color too much, because the lighting really changes when I hold things closer to the lens. Anyway, so this was really thoughtful. I'm pretty sure she has the same color as well, or a really similar one, so another pair of matching socks, which you guys know I love. And so that was very thoughtful of her as well. And then I was super shocked in the bottom of the package to find a sweater, technically 2 sweater quantities of yarn, but one in the sense that they are intended to be used together. And I think this is the yarn that Marlene used for her sweater number 18, which I think was one of her earlier sweaters. And it's by BC Garn. It's Semilla Pura, 100% organic wool. And this is color number 4. It's a really amazing heathery, I gotta let it get dark just so you can see the heathers. But there's some gray and beige and actually pink in there, which might be a little hard to see, but I can see it. So you'll just have to trust me. And then she got me a few skeins of this Kama Rose Midnight Soul lace weight, which is kind of a mohair, but it's not mohair. It's 54% baby alpaca, 36% tencel, and 10% merino wool in this really nice 9506 colorway. It's called LYS beige, and it's kind of a pinky beige. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of powdery, I don't know, pinky beige color. So she got these with the intent of them being held together, which I think is exactly what I'll do. I haven't decided if I'm going to make the sweater number 18 with it, or I actually think this would be a really nice cardigan colorway that just popped into my head right this second. And I think the BC, what is it? 350 meters for 100 grams. Is this like a sport or a DK or fingering? 22, maybe it's DK, I don't know. Anyway, I think this would be a really nice cardigan. I don't have any patterns in mind because I just came up with that right this second, but it was very generous of her to include such a large quantity of yarn, and I'm really excited to have something neutral like this in my wardrobe. I love wearing neutrals. So often I'm drawn towards yarns that are brighter because they're so much fun to knit with. And so I really appreciated Marlene including these very neutral sweater quantity colors so that I can actually make something that is something I would purchase for myself. Like, will have a good, a regular place in my wardrobe, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that was awesome. She also included a little tiny stitch marker set from, I think, a friend of hers, Emma's Knits, which one of them is in my project, but here's a little Emma's Knits logo on the bag. And then the set she sent me are these little pine cones, which may or may not be in focus, but trust me, it's an adorable golden pine cone. So that was all of the things that she picked out for me from Europe, and I feel very lucky to be able to add these beautiful things to my stash. Thank you so much again, Marlene, for inviting me to do the yarn swap. It was so much fun. I'm sure we'll do, well, I don't know, I'm sure we'll do another one in the future, maybe, but mostly I'm so excited to shop for yarns together because she's coming to Flock Fiber Festival this summer, which is a huge, I anticipate it's going to be huge, yarn festival put on by Shop Lummersery, or Lummersery, a yarn shop here in Seattle. And we're gonna go to, while she's here, we're gonna go to like every Puget Sound yarn store that there is. And we also, I ordered some yarn from Long Dog Yarn's Lord of the Rings collection for her. That's coming to my house, so we're going to be knitting Lord of the Rings things together. We're going to be shopping for all kinds of yarn together, and I can't wait. So that was such a fun thing to do, out of the ordinary, and I will forever be grateful for my knitty friendships that I've made through YouTube and Instagram. It's just wonderful. All right, so a few more acquisitions of things that I've bought. This guy is just getting to me in this video, getting a little bit on my nerves. Okay. I'm going to start with this, which is my next cast on. It's just going to be a cardigan for my nephew. So I have a 2-year-old niece, a 4-year-old nephew, and they're both getting handmade cardigans by Auntie Chelsea this year. She requested purple, he requested green, and I was having trouble finding anything that I was excited about at the yarn shop that I work at. But then we got a new shipment from Berroco in the mail, and it had this colorway of their vintage base, which is a machine washable blend of 52% acrylic, 40% wool, and 8% nylon. And the color code is 51195. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's a really nice heathered, almost jade green, kind of jadey, kind of sagey, somewhere in there. But I got 2 skeins. I think I'm just going to make the Junior Anchors cardigan because that's the pattern that I've purchased. I don't necessarily want them to have matching cardigans, but I already paid for it, and I'm kind of on a roll with the one I did for my niece, so I might as well just dive right into one for my nephew as well. So this will be my next cast on, because I would also like to have his done by the time they get here in April, just so I can see them both on them. And oh man, I'm getting cut off by my camera because I'm talking too much. But anyway, I would love to see this on my nephew soon, so I know it'll be my 8th whip, but maybe I can just hustle through it. He'll probably be the like 4 to 5-year-old size, which is a little bit bigger. I think for my niece I made, sorry, I forgot to mention the sizing, the 1 to 2 year size. I talked about the sizing in my last episode though. So I think I made like the 1 to 2 year size for her. This will probably be like a 4 to 5 year. And I think we'll be fine. So that's a little acquisition I picked up at the place where I work. And then I went to a different local yarn shop in Seattle. It's called the Tea Cozy, and it's in Ballard. It is one of my very favorite Seattle yarn stores. They have so many wonderful brands there. They have so many things that I want to buy. They carry Sandnes Garn there, so that's a little something I picked up. And then they also have Cardiff Cashmere, which is majorly on my wish list. So pricey. Someday. They have a really nice Angora yarn by Plymouth Yarns that is just, Angora yarn is angelic, like wonderful. And they also have, oh, they have hedgehog fibers there, which is another luxury yarn. They just have a lot of really good stuff. They also had a great sale section. One of the things I picked up on sale was Kelborn Woolens Germantown yarn, which is a yarn I've wanted to work with for a long time. I thought about buying it for my Wednesday sweater before I ended up deciding to use the Filcolana Peruvian Highland wool, which is what that pattern recommended. And since then, it's just been a base that I want to try out. And they had these really cute colors on sale, so I decided to get them. This one is called Jade. It's not really a jade green, but it's called Jade. And this one is called Honey, and I actually thought they looked really cute together. I don't know what they'll be. I honestly think it'd be a really cute, like, striped scarf, like a little collegiate vibe, I don't know. But, or I mean, I could get more worsted weight colors and do some kind of color work project, mix them in somewhere. But I was just excited to find these on sale, and didn't really need them, but knew I wanted to try this base, and so I picked them up, and I really like them. The other thing I purchased there, I'm so excited about. It's a project I'm all of a sudden nervous about working with my hair color. It's gonna be okay. So I have been looking up some like spring outfit inspiration, and I saw this picture of this dress, and there was a sweater vest over it, how it was styled, and I was like, is that not like exactly the Semper slip-over v-neck that Knit Pearl Girl is releasing this month? It was a for purchase commercial sweater vest, but I was like, that the Semper slip-over v-neck is the perfect hand knit piece to recreate it with. And as soon as I saw the color, I was like, I already know what color that should be. And it is the Petite Knit Sanascarn Sunday in the color Orange Feeling, which, wow, is so neon on camera. So back here is a little closer to the colorway. And I also got the matching Sanascarn Tin Silk Mohair, which I've just learned has wool in it from watching somebody else's video. It's 57% mohair, 28% silk, and 15% wool. So it is a little bit scratchier than a, 70% mohair, 30% silk type mohair, but I just had to get the matching color because I wasn't going to be able to find anything remotely close to this wonderful poppy red orange. And so I'm really excited to cast on the Semper slip-over v-neck. I've never made a slip-over before, and I like them, but they have never called to me as much as they're calling to me now. There's like primary colors are screaming at me. I think I've been shopping on the website Bowden a lot lately. For some reason, it's way too preppy for me, but there's lots of things I've been enjoying. And they keep styling these bright, primarily colored, bold sweater vests over dresses and things. And I'm really inspired by it. So I'm doing the v-neck for this one. I really want like a ribbed Kelly green. I can never escape Kelly green. Slip over, and just so many things. So this is like a very happy little container of yarn that I'm really excited to start working with. It's a little more hunting orange on screen. In person, it's a little more red poppy color. I'm really excited about it. So that was what I got from the yarn shop. And then I just have one more acquisition, which just came in the mail like 2 days ago, that I'm so excited about. And it is my order from Paisley Knit's Heartstopper collection. What a cute and perfect thing to open just in time for Easter weekend. So I got the colorway Don't Let Anyone Make You Disappear. I got 2 skeins of her Krabby DK base. Cute little Krabby logo. And my word, is this so beautiful. It's so pretty. And then I got 2 skeins of her swimming Surrey base. And it's so pretty in a completely different way. I'm just, this is the happiest yarn package I've ever gotten. It's just joyful. And I don't know anything about the TV show Heartstopper beyond what she has shared about it, but it just looks absolutely charming. So I was smitten with this colorway right away. And what a random amount of yarn. What am I going to make with these? I don't know. If anyone has any ideas, please feel free to share. They can be used individually. They can be used together. I have no idea. Lately I've been inspired by this one. Coley from Paisley Knits just made a marble sweater, which is a petite knit pattern out of like 4 or 5 different things. Random things she had in stash. And I'm pretty sure the smallest size of the marble sweater would use no more than 2 skeins of Surrey. And so my first thought is like, let me make a rainbow colored marble sweater like this, with maybe a light pink, with maybe a cream, with maybe a minty green, like something along those lines. And then this one I'm like, maybe I just make a rainbow scarf. Maybe I crochet something. I've never crocheted with hand-dyed yarn before. That could be something special. If you guys have any suggestions for these 2 random amounts of yarn, let me know. I have 2 of the DK, which is 231 yards each. And then the Swimming Surrey, excuse me, is 328 yards. So if you have any pattern ideas, please drop them in the comments below. I would love to hear suggestions. I don't want to stop looking at this on camera. It's so pretty. So that is what's going on lately. Sweater. Oh yeah, the other, let me take a second to talk about plans. I don't think I have any beyond everything I have cast on right now, which is a lot. The Semper slip over v-neck is what's going to be coming after I finish my cumulus, I believe. And then after I finish my Louvre, my last, I think, spring sweater is going to be the Brooklyn Raglan by Tori Knits in this beautiful Sorella yarn Autumn in New York collection in the colorway Townhouse, which is, I have on their classic DK, 100% superwash merino wool. And I've waxed poetic about this yarn before, so I won't go into it today, but perfect neutral, slight variation you can see here in the colorways. And I just think this will be beautiful as a Brooklyn raglan. Haven't decided if I wanted to do the Brooklyn cardigan. Because it's such a nice neutral, it would work really well as an outerwear piece. We'll see. But, so that's going to be another kind of future cast on. And then, so I'll have my niece, my nephew's cardigan, Semper slip over, Brooklyn raglan, and then, oh, another tee that I was really inspired by. So I didn't get hit by the spring knitting bug until maybe like a week ago, and until then I was like, sweater, sweater, sweater. I have since put my colorwork sweater on hold. The last episode I talked about making the My Fletching sweater by Jessica McDonald, and I have the yarn for it. It's not the time for it. After I got bit by the spring knitting bug, I was like, I don't want to go anywhere near a thick fall sweater. So that will be on hold for a while instead of casting that on. I am really excited to cast on the Sonnenstunden tee. Is that what it's called? I will put up a picture of it. This is the tee that got me inspired to knit for spring. I love the stitch pattern on the raglan and down the sides. It just looks like something that was made to go in my wardrobe, like something I will wear all the time, that Chelsea would wear all the time. And I really want to use the recommended yarn in the pattern. It's a 90% cotton, 10% cashmere, I want to say. And it's not super readily available to me, but I think once I'm ready to start it, maybe it'll be like a May or June project, I will be in a better place to actually order that yarn. I need to dial it back a little bit the next couple of months with everything new that's come into my stash, but I am super excited to make that tee. So that will be in the plans shortly. And then did I already run over everything? Go over? Not run over. December slipover, Brooklyn, nephew's cardigan, Sonnen Stunden tee that I can't pronounce. I think that covers everything for today. I think I hit everything I wanted to chat about, and I'm so sorry I was so distracted by this brunette chick the whole time. I really was feeling okay about it until I looked in the camera and was like, I don't know this girl. So it's definitely going to take me some getting used to. I really love it. I feel like a totally new person in a good way. Like, I feel excited about this girl and what she's going to do. I have to get to know her a little bit, and it's going to be a good journey. So once we get this little guy taken care of, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode and all the projects I'm knitting on. Have a great whatever time of day it is, wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one.